this is probably, this industry, or in this company, doTERRA, probably the least likely industry or company I ever thought I'd be part of, to be honest. Most of my career, I started out with the intention to go to dental school, actually. So I went to Brigham Young University for my undergrad, and got to my senior year. I was going to do pre-med. My brothers talked me into doing dental school at the last second. So instead of taking the MCAT, I took the dental, got into a few schools, chose Oregon, moved to Oregon, and 2 weeks before I started Oregon Health Sciences, I came back to our little apartment, told my wife, I said, I don't want to be a dentist. Great profession, though. And my brothers have done really, really well in that field, but I just knew that I don't know, it wasn't the right fit for me, and I wasn't even very good with my hands, so I didn't know why I was doing that, but I did a complete 180, and I became a stockbroker. Had a friend that called me shortly after I decided not to go to dental school, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I just decided not to go to dental school, and he goes, have you ever thought about being a stockbroker? I said, I don't even know what that is. So I did a complete 180, became a stockbroker for about 10 years. That led me into other businesses, started companies, and could tell that business was a lot kind of in my interest, and it's been awesome. I've enjoyed it. But about 12 and a half years ago, most of my background was stocks and real estate. And a good friend of mine about 12 and a half years ago showed up at my doorstep. I knew he was in this company called doTERRA, which I knew did essential oils, which I knew really nothing about. And I had never used an essential oil my entire life. And so he showed up at my door. He was a stockbroker with me back in the day, and here he was doing doTERRA. And I was in my house on the second story, and I saw Darren pull up, known him 20 years. Walked up to my door, and I think I told my wife, I'm like, oh boy, Darren's here with some doTERRA products. And he came up to my door, knocked, and I teased him. I opened the door, I'm like, don't even think about it. And he laughed, and he said, I knew you'd say that. He came in and told me he was part of this company called doTERRA. And I told him at that time, I said, you know, I'm so, right now, Darren, I got my hands in 4 companies, and I said, I really have no interest in this. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, I've known you 20 years. Would you be willing to come meet the CEO for 1 hour? And if you do that, I'll never bug you again. And I said, you promise me you'll never bug me again? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, I'll do that. I said, I'll go meet with him. So my intent was to go and meet Dave Sterling, the CEO of doTERRA. In fact, I came to meet with Dave Sterling, and to my surprise, I found him to be just a super, super nice guy. Down to earth, really, really not intense, wasn't pressuring me to get involved with the company at all. Just a really, really nice guy. So our 1 hour meeting turned into a 3 hour meeting. And I came out of there and he goes, listen, take some products, you know, and I already know you're kind of skeptical about this kind of industry. Take some products and, you know, let your wife use some of them and see what you think. Came home, my wife said, how was the meeting? And I said, super nice guy, really, really nice guy. I said, but I don't have any time to even do something like this, and I don't have any interest. But I said, he was a really, really nice guy. Well, my wife, I gave her these products, and Rebecca over the years, always, probably maybe 3 or 4 times a year would have a migraine headache. And Rebecca, about a week after I had met with the CEO, kind of had a migraine. And I said, and I think the way I phrased it with her is, hey, maybe try some of this snake oil and see if there's anything to do with this. She used it, and about 10 or 15 minutes later, Rebecca comes back in the room and she said, what was that you gave me? I said, I don't even know. They say it's good for migraines. And she said, well, whatever was in that, what you called snake oil, my migraine's gone. And I'm like, no way. I said, that couldn't have been a migraine. How could this oil take that away? Well, I didn't know at the time, but come to find out that an essential oil goes into your bloodstream in 30 seconds. At the time, I was thinking this is a coincidence, and so I said, well, you know, let's let's mess around with oils a little bit more. And I think that maybe that's a coincidence. I can't see how that would work. Not having any background to essential oils, we started to look at it a little bit, and we went on this trip with the kids. We went on a cruise with the kids. First day of the cruise, the kids get totally burned, totally fried. I'm like, oh, great. And Rebecca looks up in this book and says, well, for burns, you use some lavender. So she puts lavender on her hand, puts it on the kids' backs. I'm like, there's no way that's going to work. They're totally burned. Next, didn't think anything of it. The next morning, kids want to go swimming. And I said, you guys, there's no way you're going swimming. You're totally fried. They lift up their shirts, and the redness of the burn gone. And I was like, huh, that's really, really interesting. During that trip, we used things for like seasickness, headaches, fevers, all those things with young families at the time. And every single product we used was super effective. Came back, went into Dave Sterling's office, and when I went in there, if you knew Dave Sterling, he's a really mild-mannered guy, not a hyped-up guy or anything like that. He's just really chill kind of guy. So I went in, but he had this smile on his face, and he said, what did you think of the products? I know you're super skeptical, but what did you think? And I said, products are good. I mean, I have to say the products are really good. He goes, yeah, they are good. He said, we have a 65 to 70% retention of people who use the doTERRA products. And I said, well, what's that compared to? He goes, well, most companies in this industry have a 5 to 10% retention. And doTERRA is a 65 to 70. I'm like, that seems pretty good. He goes, Kenny, it's huge. It's unlike any other company in this industry. And so he said, right now we're at $110 million. This is back in 2011. And he said, I want to be $1 billion company in 3 years. I would love for you to come over and help us grow this internationally. And I think his only interest in me was that I had this trip that I did. I'd written a leadership book, and I went and interviewed leaders in business, sports, entertainment, and government for 6 weeks. My wife was nice enough to support me in that, and she said, go for it. And met some really awesome people. Traveled 50,000 miles in 50 days in 15 countries. And I think this CEO thought, hey, Kenny might have some contacts in some of these places. So I think that was his interest in me because I had no experience with network marketing at all. So he said, I'd like to hire you as a consultant. And I said, well, with what I do right now, I only have 5 days a month to do anything. He goes, okay, I'll take those 5 days. Okay. And I found myself doing something I never thought in a million years I would do, but I was super impressed with the company, super impressed with the owners of the company, and I felt good about it. So I went forward, and he said, but what's going to happen is in 6 months, you're going to want to be a distributor. I said, I won't want to be a distributor, but I'm happy to be a consultant for the company. He goes, okay. So I went 6 months. First area that I tried, I knew some, I would say maybe my comfort zone was I thought I knew some really good people. But I had been approached with network marketing dozens of times, always said no, always. But I called a friend of mine, Jimmy Chan in China. I only knew 2 people in all of China, Jimmy Chan was one of them. And he was an insurance consultant, made good money, probably about $250,000 a year. And I called him and I said, hey, I'm looking for a good leader in Hong Kong. It's a company I'm involved with. He said, okay. And he started asking me these questions. And the reason why this is relevant, this kind of ended up becoming kind of my presentation. This is kind of a presentation that's pretty old now, but this is what I used to grow in that company. But he said, tell me about the company. And I'll actually go to the next slide. Now keep in mind, this presentation's like, I used this back in, I probably stopped using it in 2015 or even 18. But I said, well, the company started in 2008, they have no debt, they have a headquarters in Pleasant Grove, they want to be, a billion in 2015, which was about 2.5 years from that time, which they did. They reached a billion in 7 years versus like a new skin that took 17 years. They did it very quickly, and then 3 years later they were 2 billion. He said, okay. Now at the time when I was presenting to him, doTERRA was only 110 million. So I said they want to be a $1 billion company, which they did hit. You go to the next one. This is doTERRA's headquarters. It now takes up 3 city blocks in Pleasant Grove, Utah. It says a $100 million building now. That's a $500 million building. It's huge. I think they had 2,500 employees back then. I think now they have 20,000 employees. doTERRA has become a major company, and they're now the world industry leader in essential oils. Again, keep in mind, 2015 was the last time I really used this, and so at the time I was saying, I joined in 2011, and doTERRA has grown exponentially in that time. Most companies in this space, they go up, come down, they're out of business. doTERRA is really unique. It's very continuous, steady, consistent growth, and that's what separates this company from others. So Jimmy Chan is asking me these questions, and I'm explaining these things. So we went through this whole thing. I used to use this slide. I said, they're going to be opening in Guatemala, Ecuador, Colombia. Well, doTERRA opened in all of these places, and now they're open in probably 130 countries around the world. So they're huge now. So we went through all these things. So Jimmy's like, okay, I can see that they're in a lot of places. It's a fast-growing company. I get that. He said, now tell me about the products. So I said, well, doTERRA has 4 kinds of products. They have essential oils. They have wellness products like vitamins, minerals. They have stuff like for your skin, everyday living products. And again, if you've never used an essential oil, I would invite you to at least try it. Try some essential oils sometime and see if you have if it has a good impact on you. doTERRA's retention is 65 to 70%, but if you took the 14 million distributors in doTERRA, 89% of them only use the products. They don't do the business at all. So most people just use doTERRA products because they love the products. People that happen to do the business, there's an opportunity there too. A lot of people ask, what is an essential oil? It's a natural aromatic compound found in plants, steam distilled, cold pressed, extracted. The reason why people like them is they're powerful, they're safe, and no side effects. I mean, I guess you could have a rash if you're allergic to a lavender plant, but if you look at pharmaceutical drugs, which doTERRA is not anti-Western medicine at all. They just say that you probably shouldn't cure everything with a medication, a drug. And so doTERRA came in at a really good time when people were looking for a natural product that could satisfy a lot of common ailments. And they just happened to just hit the perfect timing when people were looking for that. When you think of people who, it's funny, before I joined doTERRA, I looked at this study by John Rappaport with CNBC. And I really thought about it. I grew up Western medicine, and you got sick, you go and take an antibiotic or whatever. Never thought much about it. I did this one study this one time before I came in, and I looked at how many Medicaid prescriptions does the average American family take? What would you guess? So let's say you have strep throat or something, that's 1 prescription. What would you say, and I did this independently of doTERRA, John Rappaport with CNBC, if you look that up, how many prescriptions do you think the average, including men, women, and children, does the average American family take, would you guess? 7. 7 different prescriptions. So if you had a family of 6 like my own, that would average out to, if 7 per person, it'd be 42 different in one family, right? And it's interesting because I thought, that seems like a lot of prescriptions. And again, doTERRA's not against Western medicine, but their feeling behind that is that if you're gonna, there might be some uses for natural solutions rather than a prescription for everything. That made some sense to me. That's a lot of prescriptions. That's probably not good for you, but maybe some of those are necessary, which is great. But maybe if there was a natural solution, maybe that would be good. And then I thought, how many people die every year of prescriptions? Well, a lot. I've never known anybody to die from doTERRA oils. And so doTERRA really timed the market perfect. It complemented with Western medicine, and then doTERRA was off to the races. So what doTERRA does, there's 3 ways to use. You can use it aromatically in the air. You can use it topically. Go to the next slide, on your skin. And doTERRA, you can also use, they're fanatical about, really strict about having it be pure from the plant, because some of their products you could put in your body. They knew if you put them in your body, it better be pure, because there could be problems if they weren't. So doTERRA created back in the day something called CPTG, Certified Pure Therapeutic Grade Essential Oil. Totally different. If you were to go to like Walmart, smell something that smells like lavender, it would have a lot of synthetics in it that could hurt your body. But doTERRA's products are 100% from the plant. doTERRA, every batch of oil goes through a third party where they test the chemical analysis, organoleptic, microbiological, heavy metal, gas chromatography, infrared, to make sure it indeed is 100% pure. doTERRA goes all around the world, and what they did is they tied up all the supply channels of the best essential oils. So they go to Australia for peppermint, lime from Brazil, lavender from France, frankincense from Somalia, and they go vetiver from Dominican Republic. They go all around the world, and they created partnerships with farmers, and they went to those different places and they tied up all the supply channels. Super smart strategically. This is their #1 product, Lifelong Vitality, vitamins, mineral, and then I call this one the Superman pill because it has 10 essential oils, including frankincense in the pill. That's their #1 product. This helps with things. It helps with things like inflammation, your metabolism, your stress management, heart, bone, joint. Really good multi-purpose, everyday usage of the product. And it's not just doTERRA saying that, they have scientific references that back all of this up. So this is the biggest thing. So when Jimmy Chan was asking me all these questions, I was telling him about the products, and I said, and they have a 65% retention. So most companies, people come in, they leave. MLM gets a really bad rap because there's so many out there. People are constantly moving through MLMs. They don't make any money. They disenfranchise with the product and they leave. doTERRA, when somebody comes in, they almost always stay in. And nothing to do with the business. They just genuinely like the products. Before you guys knew anything about doTERRA, I mean, had you heard of doTERRA before?
I was using it for like 3 years before I even knew there was a business side to it.
And that's what I found, is that when I heard about doTERRA, people talked about it, it's almost like people didn't know there was even a business side of it. They said, oh yeah, doTERRA, yeah, they love the products and things like that. Well, there's also, Jimmy Chan asked me, is there a business side? Let's go to the one. So here I had told Jimmy Chan about the company, the products, and then Jimmy said, is there a business side of this? I said, yeah, there's a business side. Now I'll explain this for a minute before we go on. I told Jimmy, I said, yeah, I mean, now keep in mind, I was a consultant at the time in doTERRA, was not a distributor. And he said, so do distributors actually make some money? I said, yeah, the distributors in this company make top distributors make millions of dollars a year. He's like, really? I said, yeah. And because I was a consultant, I got to see like real money, what the distributor, and I started forming this team. And indeed, the CEO came back to me after 6 months and said, well, I'll continue to be as a consultant, but let me show you what you built and what that would be if you were a distributor. And I said, I'll be a distributor. I'll do that. And I ended up doing the exact same thing that I had done as a consultant. I just found really good people. And when I went around the world and would ask people what they did, and they would ask me what I did, I would say, you know, I'd hear about their business. They'd say, what do you do? And I found that I was kind of always saying kind of the same thing. I'd say I'm an international business consultant for a multi-billion-dollar healthcare company, and I traveled the world looking for top leaders. I wasn't doing home parties. I wasn't going door to door selling lemon oil. But I recognized that doTERRA was a vehicle for 3 things that I found that everybody in the world wanted better health, financial independence, and more time. And no matter if you're in Australia or the Netherlands or Cape Town, South Africa, everybody wanted those same things. And doTERRA was an amazing vehicle for those three things. Probably the top for me that I wanted more time with my family. And Rebecca and I always wanted to take our kids and travel the world. And we set out a goal that we said, okay, by the time our oldest, who's now 25, by the time McKay is 21, we want to have the kids go to every single continent in the world and experience people from all over the place. And I thought I had done it earlier, but my youngest reminded me after we were at dinner one night, and he goes, I said, hey, we did it, we accomplished that goal, and my youngest said, no, we didn't. Like, yeah, we went to the China Wall, went to the City Opera House, we did all these things. He goes, you missed Antarctica. And I'm like, you can't get Antarctica, there's only penguins that live out there. And, but I thought, you know what, okay. And so we booked a trip and we went to Antarctica as a family that Christmas and finished out the last continent. But it has been, I've done a lot of things in my career in business. I've started a lot of companies. But I will say the most unexpected surprise of my career has been doTERRA. Never thought in a million years I would do an MLM company. But this has been a very unique opportunity and a unique company that has been a vehicle for some of those things that were even more important to me, like spending time with family. So the only thing I'm going to go to here, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the business, and this is not a high pressure situation. I always go around and I present what doTERRA is, what they do, and then if people ever want to come into that and look into it, then happy to answer questions and talk a little bit more about it. But basically doTERRA, there's 5 ways people get paid. I will say this, there's 12 ranks in doTERRA. Only difference is number of teams, size of the team. And if you go one more, these have gone up. This is an old slide, probably 7 years ago. Of the 12 ranks, silver, a person now, the equivalent now these days is probably, silver makes about $30,000 a year in doTERRA, gold makes about 60 now, platinum makes about 120 a year, diamonds make about 220 a year, blue diamonds still about 463, and presidential diamonds 1.32 million a year. People ask, how can doTERRA pay those kind of fees? This is how they do it. They don't do commercials. They're not retail. You can't buy doTERRA in Costco. You have to go wholesale. So everybody who ever uses doTERRA, they may or may not know this, but they're under somebody in an organization. So instead of taking 50% of the profitability of the company to do commercials, they pay distributors. Now, I'm going to tell a story just because of John and Bridget are here, because I think this is kind of a cool story. One of the teams I work with in doTERRA is Roger and Teresa Hardy. Great people, super great people. Teresa was your everyday mom that, going to soccer games, baseball games with her kids, and she started using doTERRA products, loved them for herself. And when she'd go to these places, like when her kid would have a headache, she'd give them like some peppermint, and peppermint takes away headaches. And some of her friends started asking her, hey, what do you give your kid a headache? I just use peppermint, no big deal. Well, she had no intention to do business at all. Her husband was a very successful dentist, owned 3 dental practices. And her husband, Roger, said one day, honey, why don't you do this business? I mean, you're just kind of sharing it anyway. She said, no, I don't do business. I love the products, and people ask, he goes, well, why don't you at least make them sign up so they're buying their own, so you're not giving away all our products? I mean, because then you're buying their products too. She goes, well, that's true. I guess they should buy their own. He goes, well, yeah. Let them buy wholesale like you're doing. And she did that. Well, all of a sudden, these checks started showing up at her house. She wasn't even trying to do the business. And it started off a couple $100 a month. And then all of a sudden, it started getting a couple $1,000s a month. And her husband, Roger's like, but what? I mean, you're not even trying to do the business, and you got, I mean, just, I don't want to do the business. I just, you know. And so finally, Roger convinced her. He goes, honey, you're obviously passionate about it. I mean, just why don't you just try building a couple teams and see what happens? Well, that check turned into $20,000 a month. And her husband sold all 3 dental practices, jumped in with her, and then they went up to $200,000 a month. And now they travel all around. They went and lived in China for a few years, and they just got back from Armenia. They served a LDS mission in Armenia, and they spend a lot of time as a family and these kind of things. But what's been interesting is to see very professional people come into this company. Ways you can do doTERRA. Some people just approach everybody. That was never my style. I was always very selective, like trying to approach people that I thought, oh, they'd be good at this. I think this might be interesting. And then I would invite them, no pressure. If you were to talk to any of my teams, they would say, Kenny never put any pressure. He just invited us, and they connected the dots and wanted to be part of it, and I showed them how to do it. One of the people I recruited probably 10 years ago, a guy named Frank Oddens, owned a really successful headhunting company back in the Netherlands. One of the only guy I knew in the Netherlands, but he was super successful. And when I went on that interview tour, I interviewed him. Called him 2 years later, and I said, hey, Frank, remember me? He goes, oh, yeah, I remember you. You came to interview me. And I said, hey, listen, I'm consulting for a company called doTERRA, essential oil company, and I want one really solid leader in Europe. And the first person I thought about was you. And it really was, because this guy was just awesome people, super dynamic, was running a $40 million company with 150 employees. And when I first brought it up to him, he goes, Kenny, there's no way in the world I can do this. I'm running this company, we got 150 employees. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, when you come back, he was going to San Diego. He was going to do this video thing with Tony Robbins, if you've heard of Tony Robbins. He was traveling down there to do this video thing. And I said, well, when are you going down? He said, next week. I said, I think Dave Sterling, the CEO, is going to be down in LA. Maybe you guys could meet. He goes, well, I'm just going to be in the LAX airport and then moving on to San Diego. And so I called Dave Sterling, and he goes, I'll be in the LAX airport on Thursday. And Frank said, so will I. So they got together in the LAX airport. Frank called me and he goes, Kenny, I just got through talking to Dave Sterling for like an hour at the airport. This is like a real company. I said, yeah. He said, when I come back from San Diego, if you show me how to do this, I'll sell my company and I'll do this full time. And I said, let's do it. So he came back, got involved, and he sold his company, and he does this full time. He'll be a presidential diamond this December. And it's been awesome. And what he already made good money, so that wasn't the big draw, but what he really liked was more time. And I think that's always what I was after as well. So basically, in a nutshell, this presentation, which is now super old, is something I did because it tells you about doTERRA the company, doTERRA the products, and doTERRA the business. And that's really what comprises this entire company. doTERRA is right now $2 billion strong. By 2028, they'll be $4 billion strong. It's a great product. I would invite you to try the products if you haven't tried the products. And if something about the opportunity or the business catches your eye and you want to know more, let us know. And when I came into the company, I told Dave Sterling, I'll only join if I can plug people into the strongest team in the world of worldwide doTERRA. And he said, normally I would tell you I don't allow people just to do that. But your friend who came to your door that day with all this thing, he happens to be in the strongest team in the world called doTERRA. So you can actually tell people that. So when I started bringing people, kind of identifying people that I thought could be good, I plugged them in to the strongest team in the world. The team that Jeff is on he's under, 5 of the top 10 people in the entire global company are in that line. And what that does is it just means people have have some experience and they know how to do it. Never thought in a million years that this crazy business opportunity would turn out to be what it has. But I will say now, of all the things that I've done, this has been the best business decision of my life, for sure, becoming involved with this company. That presentation was what I did my first, I think, 3 or 4 years in the company. And then Daxon was a missionary in Park City, and that's how I got to know Daxon. And he was a super impressive young man. And when my wife and I were here a couple of years ago, Rebecca and I said, hey, let's go by and tell Daxon's parents what an awesome young man he is. And so we came and met them for the first time. I never mentioned doTERRA at all to Jeff. Never came up, and it wasn't the right time or appropriate to bring that up at the time. And so went back, and then when Daxon finished his mission, he called me and goes, hey, he said, I'm done with my mission, and this is 6 months or whatever after his mission. He goes, and also I'm married. I said, well, that was fast. And so he said he found a great girl, and anyway, so we reconnected, and then somehow I got back a hold of Jeff. I'd known Jeff, I guess, knew of him for 2 years. And I think Jeff asked me one day, he goes, hey, by the way, what do you do for a living? I know you do some real estate, things like that. I said, I do some things at this company called doTERRA. Honestly, I haven't really been of desperation to go see people out. I just kind of targeted people over the years who I thought would be good. And then he started asking questions about it, and I kind of just told him what I just told you, basically, in a nutshell. And he goes, I've never had any interest in network marketing, but the way you've approached this, I kind of like that. That's a total kind of a different approach. And so anyway, needless to say, Jeff got involved because of that. Jeff, maybe you can, share a minute, like, what made you get involved? I had obviously never brought it up in 2 years to you.
Yeah, Kenny and I had known each other for over 2 years, and it was, I remember asking him, like, so I know you do the real estate, you used to be a stockbroker, I had read his book, so I kind of knew some of his history, and I said, what is it you do? And when he told me doTERRA, I knew what doTERRA was, and I was kind of, had the same reaction as when Darren approached him. I was like, network marketing, that's what you do? And immediately I was not interested. But there was a couple things that really changed that for me. One, like he said, as he explained the way he approached it, because I don't mind having a business opportunity meeting like this. I don't want to have an oil party where we're all sitting around sharing the oils, doing it that way, like I've envisioned in my mind. But it was also, he sent me a bunch of product. He says, try it out. And, we had used different doTERRA products since we lived in Canada. And he says, we're going to talk again next week, Monday or Tuesday or whatever. And he says, talk to your wife about it. And that whole weekend, I kept thinking, I need to talk to Cameron. And every time I thought about it, I'm like, she's going to say, it's a network marketing company, MLM or whatever. And so I didn't have the conversation. And then the day that I knew Kenny was calling me, I went and talked to her and I said, hey, what do you think about doTERRA? And expecting her first response to be network marketing or something. And she says, oh, I love the products. And that was really, okay, yeah, so it really made me look at it different and more about how he approached the business, because I love working with entrepreneurs, I love working with people that are interested in business, and so that was a lot more of a fit than what I envisioned network marketing to be.
I'm glad that friend of mine took a chance to be patient with my mocking when he came by my house for the first time. And now, he's really glad, I'm really glad that he introduced me to it. And again, I've done stocks and real estate and lots of other businesses, but this has been, for me, the best business decision of my career, for sure. Primarily because it's given me time to be with my family, time to do things that are important to me. And so, anyway, I think if a person gets involved, I think you find your niche. You're not alone. So when I first started, I thought, okay, I feel good about this. What do I do? I had my upline, who I learned was the strongest upline in the world. I got on a bunch of calls with them. I had them get on with some people that I introduced. I saw how they did it, and then I found a style that was super comfortable to me. I knew that I would not be a home party, sharing oils around the room kind of guy. But I knew that I felt comfortable presenting an opportunity that I thought could help people have better health, financial independence, and more time. That I felt really good about. Because who doesn't want that? Everybody wants that. And whether you're in Australia or South Africa or Netherlands, everybody wants to have better health. Everybody wants to be financially independent, and they want more time to do things that are important to them. Business opportunity. So if you're looking at it from a product standpoint, try the product. See if you get a good positive result from it. If you don't, no big deal. You haven't lost anything. And if you like it, then use the product if it's good. And if you end up deciding that, I wonder if this could be a side, like something I can build. I know people who do it to get a couple $100 extra a month to pay for a car payment or something. I know people who use it for a couple $1,000s a month to pay for a house payment. I know people who do it for a business that make tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands a month because they say, I want to make this a business. So I would say find out whatever's comfortable for you, whatever fits your interests. And if it's something you do on the business side, we'd be happy to help you. I continue to do doTERRA. I'm going to continue to do it because it's super fun. And I never thought I'd put MLM and fun in the same sentence. But I do it now, and I travel around the world, and I meet really great people and share an opportunity that has been pretty unique. And I've seen leaders all over the world